I like it. When we first got to Burlington, we walked a lot and we explored Burlington and we went to a chocolate factory. Had some good stuff there.
I enjoyed walking to the chocolate factory and seeing Champlain Lake. I found a baseball.
Oh, you found a baseball on the walk.
Yeah.
So is that your favorite souvenir from the trip? Did you keep the baseball or did you get rid of it?
I think I kept it.
Okay. All right, what food did you enjoy in Vermont?
I enjoyed the syrup.
And we picked up donuts, and how can I not mention a donut? So
Was Ben & Jerry's your favorite food in Vermont?
Yeah. So just the line for Ben & Jerry's, I remember just playing Monopoly on the phone and just talking and hanging out, waiting for an hour and a half.
it was good ice cream, but we had to wait a long time for it.
I enjoyed the Ben & Jerry's ice cream and the mac and cheese from Cabot was really good.
I like cheese and enjoyed going to the Cabot Creamery and buying several different kinds of cheese that we enjoyed throughout the trip.
I liked Ben & Jerry's ice cream was good, and also the donuts from the Cedar Mill and the apple cider was good.
I really enjoyed the Cold Hollow cider mill, where they had a big tank of ice cold cider that you could just have in one of those cone-shaped cups. That was refreshing because it was a hot day.
We went to a granite factory where me and Mom and Wesley just kind of went off exploring, and we found this old bowling alley, and it was made of granite, and we found out that granite was supposed to be what bowling lanes were made of until somebody came up with what they're made of today, and they went with that.
Well, I enjoyed going to Trinity Baptist Church in Concord for the morning service, but then after that we did Clark's Bears, which was entertaining to see the bears and some acrobats.
We went to Clark's Bears where we saw bears do tricks, and we saw some circus people do some cool tricks.
So what kinds of tricks did the bears do?
The workers there would give them a basketball and they'd catch it, and then they'd go run it to a hoop, or they'd run on a barrel to chase after ice cream or stuff like that.
Okay. What about the people? What kind of tricks did they do?
So there was one girl who balanced stuff on her nose, and she at one point was standing on a wobbly platform on a couple of ladders with this huge big thing on her nose of a bunch of glass and a big kerosene lamp at the top.
I would have to say the acrobats at Clark's Bears were pretty fascinating, and I really enjoyed watching that lady balance that stuff on the top of her nose and climb the ladders.
Clark's Bears was fun. We got to see some bears doing some tricks, and then we also got to see some acrobats doing some cool stuff.
What did the acrobats do?
One did this thing with the stick that had like 3 prongs in the end, and they spun it. It was cool. One girl balanced a bunch of things on her nose and then went up a ladder on a wobbly table or something. And then one girl fit herself into a barrel and then kept doing that and stuff. It was crazy.
Gotcha.
And then the girl that balanced the stuff on her nose balanced a table and a pot on her feet. It's pretty cool and was spinning those.
In New Hampshire, I really liked the cog railway. That I could do again. It was breathtaking scenery up on top of the mountain.
So what was your favorite activity that we've done on the trip so far?
I did enjoy the cog rail.
We went to an arcade museum and saw a lot of old games and played them.
Also saw an arcade museum, which is the largest arcade museum in the world, and it was very cool. I think I only played like 3 or 4, and I liked all of them. It was Miss Pac-Man, pinball, and some punching game.
Punch Out?
Yeah, Punch Out.
But really my favorite thing in New Hampshire was the arcade museum. So they had over 200 classic arcade games, so I got to play Galaga, Ms. Pac-Man, Punch-Out, and many more things. So it brought me right back to my childhood.
I remember when we went to the hotel there from Vermont. We ate pizza at the hotel, and that was really good. And we were late and it was tired, and it's really good.
I liked the pizza at our hotel in the Holiday Inn. It was really good. It was nice after going swimming too.
We had some really good pizza from Holiday Inn that we had right after we went swimming, and it was really late, like I think it was 8 or 9 o'clock, and we were all starving, and it was amazing.
What was so good about the pizza?
It had a lot of toppings on it, and the sauce was really good, and the cheese was good, and the bread was good.
Would you ever go back to New Hampshire?
Probably.
Why would you go back to New Hampshire?
Probably to see Clark's Bears again, because we came towards the end of it, so we didn't get to see all of it.
So we went to Acadia National Park. That was really fun. It was really pretty there.
So I enjoyed seeing things in Acadia National Park. While we didn't see the full impact of Thunder Hole, it was a beautiful scenery there along the water.
Well, I really enjoyed Maine. We were there, like you said, 4 or 5 days and enjoyed the scenery. It was beautiful oceanfront with a rocky coast there, and seeing some things in Acadia National Park and some wildlife. What's something you'll never forget from the trip?
When we were in Maine, I think it was, we went across a bar when it was low tide, and when we got over there, we built a huge pile of rocks with a stick in the middle, and we're like, hopefully we'll be able to see this at high tide. And we had a hotel right across from that, and we were able to look out after on high tide, and we were still able to see the stick.
In Maine, I really enjoyed the walk across the water during high tide. You could walk across it, and there were rock towers everywhere, and we built one in the water so the water would cover over it, and we could see it before the water got to it.
I really enjoyed going across the bar in Bar Harbor, which is the sandbar that's exposed during low tide. And so walking across and understanding that a couple hours later it would be completely underwater during high tide.
It's so pretty. It's a lot of mountains, especially in Acadia. It's really pretty. We were going to go up to Cadillac Mountain but it was a foggy day. We went up there and we could see nothing. But I'm assuming it was really pretty when it's a normal bright day.
What food did you eat in Maine and enjoy?
Jordan's, which was a different place we went for breakfast, and
What did you get at Jordan's?
chocolate chip pancakes.
Did you get chocolate chip pancakes for every meal?
No,
You had chocolate Pop-Tarts when you weren't having chocolate pancakes, right?
only for breakfast.
I enjoyed Jordan's in Bar Harbor. They served good food quickly, famous for their blueberry muffins.
I had a Belgian waffle with ice cream on it. I also it might have been that night, we went to West Side Grill, and I got a steak there, and that was really good.
Favorite Maine meal would probably be at Becky's Diner. I got a grilled chicken club the first time, and a turkey sandwich I think the next time.
I think I had a burger one night, and the next time I had I can't remember what I had. But it was good, and we had quite a variety.
I enjoyed the Becky's Diner that we ate at in Portland. In fact, we enjoyed it enough that we went there twice. It was just normal, well-cooked food at a reasonable price. And it came at the end of a couple of long days. And so it was a refreshing experience to be at Becky's Diner. We also took a mini donut tour in Portland, and you gotta mention the donuts. So those two of the shops we stopped there were unique and very good. I would recommend them. We got to Portland, Maine, and we found another soft serve ice cream shop. Delicious.
Another thing I enjoyed in Maine was Camden. It was really just a short stop on the way to our next destination, but it was beautiful. We got to see a harbor there with a bunch of boats, and we went up on Mount Batty, which is a few hundred feet or maybe 1,000 feet above sea level, and from up on that high view we were able to look out over the ocean. It was just absolutely beautiful.
We also went towards the end of while we were in Maine. We went to a candy shop called Uncle Willie's Candy Shop. It was really fun there. They had a lot of fun candies that were unique, and it was a fun spot to take pictures and just look at all the unique type of candies and try some of them. I like the duck tour. I maybe wouldn't do it in the same spot. I'd be interested in doing another duck tour. I thought that was interesting to see the history and also the experience.
A couple of highlights happened in Portland. We went out on a lobster boat and got to be involved in the entire fishing process. So being able to help pull up traps and rebait traps and learn about fishing laws of lobster. That was a fascinating experience, which was highlighted by eating the lobster afterwards.
My favorite activity was probably the lobster tour. We got to go on a boat with 14-ish other people on there and got to learn a lot about lobsters. Learned that they are not very smart because they get themselves caught in traps and they can't get out. And I learned how to tell the difference between a male and a female lobster.
What's the difference?
The male tail thingies they look like praying hands, and the tips of them are red, and the females are crossed and feathery.
So for example, if a fisherman catches a lobster that is female, indicated by having eggs, they cut a notch in the tail and release it. And subsequent to that, if that lobster is ever caught again, they're required to release the notched-tailed females, and they're never allowed to be caught.
And in order to keep them, from their eye to the bottom of their back, it has to be 3.5 to 5 inches. And if it's bigger than that, or smaller than that, they have to throw them back.
You got to fill the traps with, re-trap them with the bait. We got to put the rubber bands on the claws of the lobsters that they caught. We got to push the trap back in after it was reset.
One of my favorite activities in Maine was when we did get to go out on the lobster boat tour. Would you want to be a lobster fisherman someday?
I think it could be very fun. I think it'd probably get old after a few weeks though.
My second was in Maine when we did the lobster hunt, or the lobster catch. Not so much the eating, but the catch.
So 4 of the 5 people in my family went on a lobster boat tour. I didn't go because I chose to do a tour of a lighthouse thing, which was also really cool. I'm not regretting that at all. But I think I would have really enjoyed the lobster boat thing, and I wish I'd been able to do both.
Did you try any new foods in Maine that you've never had before?
I did. I tried lobster and crab. They were
Nice.
good.
Nice. If you had to pick between the two, lobster or crab, which would you have?
Probably lobster.
I spent a lot of time in Bar Harbor listening to people talk. I kept waiting for the classic New England speech that doesn't pronounce R's. And I wasn't hearing very much. But we got into a gift shop in Kennebunkport, and I could hear a cashier interacting with somebody, and I thought, he's not saying his R's. We purchased something there, And when we mentioned that we were from out of town, he started on a whole litany of saying words without R's, and it was in classic Bahaba form. So I got to hear the classic and assumed Maine talk without any R's.
So in Maine, after whale watching was canceled, we souvenir shopped and we found shirts for $4 each. So I got 2 shirts there. They seem to be, this is one of them, they seem to be holding up pretty well. I like them, and they weren't like cheap material or ugly looking. They were pretty good for the price.
Well, I got a sweatshirt, a zip-up sweatshirt of Maine for $25, which was a really good deal. It's nice and thick. I've gotten magnets along the way, so it'll make a nice little collection to try and catch all the different places we went.
I'm sure it probably gets pretty cold in the winter because we even sometimes wore jackets while we were there in the summer. But it was really beautiful there. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of space.
I really enjoyed our time in Maine. It was great scenery. It was good history, understanding how important port towns are to the economy and how ships need to come in and out, and seeing and being able to imagine what that was like a couple hundred years ago.
We took the tram into town, and the first day we went to Fenway and got a tour of the Fenway Park baseball stadium, and got to go up all around it. We got to go in the press box and on the Green Monster.
My dad and I and Wesley got to go to Fenway Park and have a tour there. That was great. We got to learn about the history of the park and walk all around inside of it, including getting to go up into the press box.
Well, my favorite was actually doing Fenway, now that I think about it. That was a real neat experience. Be up on the Green Monster and learn how much those seats cost. It was, and then going in the press box.
Right after that, there was a little burger place right next to it called Tasty Burger, and just fantastic burgers. And instead of French fries, I was able to get tater tots with my burger. That was pretty cool.
I liked the Boston Tea Party. We got to reenact the Boston Tea Party. It was really fun.
I liked the Boston Tea Party a lot. It was really fun. We learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know. So beforehand, they gave us all like a roll of somebody that was actually at the Boston Tea Party, and they told us about them. And then these 2 guys in like outfits dressed as people that would have been in that time period, like riled us all up, and we were all like cheering and chanting and stuff. And then we learned a lot of history after we actually threw the tea over.
My favorite activity is probably the tea party. I enjoyed that, the getting into it with the huzzah. Really got everybody into it.
One of the most interesting experiences that I had was going to the Tea Party reenactment, and there were a lot of different things that I learned through that experience. Definitely learning about the events that led up to the Tea Party and what all of that looked like, and then also learning that they were giant crates of the tea, and that the tea boxes had to be broken open with hatchets before they could scoop the tea into the harbor. I always thought it was just throwing the boxes overboard.
And another highlight in Boston was the Tea Party reenactment.
The Boston Tea Party Museum, where we really were reminded of a lot of the history leading up to the Revolutionary War, and tied directly into our reading of Johnny Tremaine on our way out to Boston.
So on the second day in Boston, we got to see the USS Constitution and Bunker Hill. So those were great historic things to see. It was fascinating to see the old boat and how many people it took to help keep that in the proper shape, and how that would all work in a classic battle with the cannons and things like that. So that was fascinating.
Boston, we did a trolley tour, and they talked about historical things. And one thing that really stuck in my mind was that George Washington bluffed British when he had his men cut down big logs, painted them black, and had them lined up on the Dorchester high banks or whatever. I didn't hear totally that, but they were all lined up to make it look like he had hundreds of cannons pointed at the militia in Boston, and convinced the general to leave Boston because he had all those cannons pointed in their direction, even though the George Washington's troops were far outnumbered by the Boston troops.
In fact, they were saying they celebrate that day as Evacuation Day as the British left.
I learned that my aunt is pretty good at foosball. We had a foosball competition like 3 nights, and it was best out of 3, and those were fun.
And she beat you?
No.
Oh,
I beat her the first 2 times, and then she beat me the last time.
okay, good. It's always good when Aunt Jenny loses. What food in Boston did you enjoy?
So I don't remember like an actual restaurant, but I remember after we reenacted the Boston Tea Party, we could buy like a tea sample thing, and they had 5 different types of tea that were on the ship before they threw it over, and we got to sample all of them, and that was really fun, and I really liked those.
I liked Mike's pastries, those were pretty good, and I also liked the Papa John's pizza that we had.
Mike's Pastries. I did enjoy the cannoli. I was amazed at how many flavors there were. It wasn't a donut, but it was a cannoli. What about treats? We visited several chocolate shops and donut shops and sweet things. What would be your treat that you would totally eat again?
Mike's Pastries, hand down. I said that we had to go to Mike's Pastries when we were in Boston. I loved their cannolis, and Jenny got a really nice chocolate something that was very, very tasty.
But they offer like 8 or 10 or 12 flavors of cannolis. Which one is the best?
Well, I had the chocolate chip, so that was really the only one I tried, but I've had other cannolis from there before. They're all really good.
Well, my favorite food is a dessert.
It's okay.
My favorite food would be at Mike's Pastry. I got this really good chocolate. It had like a chocolate cake, looked like a mousse, and then chocolate ganache on it. It was really good because I don't do cannoli.
I think my favorite has to be cannoli. It's one of the things I was most excited about going back to Boston for, and couldn't get enough of that. Had to go twice.
We went to an Italian restaurant, and that was really good.
What'd you get?
Chicken parmesan.
Mm. So when you went to the Fenway tour, what did you eat that day?
We went to a burger restaurant and got burgers, which were a pretty good price for being in a big city, and they were really good.
What else did you enjoy about the restaurant where you got the burgers?
They had the World Championship of Tag on and the World Championship of Cornhole. It was
Gotcha.
interesting.
I just loved spending time with family on the whole trip. I really enjoyed on the 4th of July at Boston. We were just hanging out all day. We just played Chase the Ace a bunch. I just liked talking and hanging out. Or just nights when we would just play Rage together and have a good time.
My favorite thing that I've done on this trip so far is going to see the fireworks in Boston on the 4th of July. It was just super incredible. All the fireworks going at the same time. I've never seen anything that exciting.
When we first talked about going to Boston on the 4th, I wasn't sure we wanted to deal with the crowd, but I got to hit all the highlights. Mom and I managed to get down there for the reading of the Declaration of Independence, and we ended up in the perfect spot right in front of the State House I think there were 2 people in front of me. That was it. We got to see that be read. The parade came through. When the reading of the Declaration of Independence was done, we also wanted to get to see the USS Constitution on its yearly voyage out to sea. It's the only time of year it goes. So we walked down the street to Long Wharf, and just as we're getting close to the end of Long Wharf, we saw the ship go right in front of us. It's like, there's the ship moving right in front of us. So that was pretty cool to get to see. And then, thanks to Rob and Joanne going and saving a spot, when we were done there, we got to go down to the Esplanade and hang out and wait for fireworks, and had an awesome view of the fireworks. And it was one of, if not the best, fireworks displays I've seen. It was a great experience. Highly would recommend Boston for 4th of July.
The Declaration of Independence being read, again, I wouldn't repeat that because I wouldn't really want to be in Boston again on 4th of July, but that was my favorite.
What stands out the most to you about Rhode Island?
It's got like a lot of mansions, which was cool. They had 5 mansions. It's a lot.
I didn't know much about Rhode Island until we visited, and I think Rhode Island is a great little state with a lot of attractive things to see. And we didn't even get to do everything that we originally hoped to do. We didn't get to go, for example, to Block Island, which is maybe similar to Mackinac Island in some ways.
We went to a really good donut shop where I got a strawberry shortcake donut, and it was really good. And then, like, right after that, we went to Mystic Pizza and ate some good pizza.
I thought the donuts we had there were good. We ate at Young Donuts or something like that.
Okay. Did you like the pizza?
Oh yeah, the pizza was good. I shared a pizza with my aunt and my brother. It was good.
What did you get for toppings?
We got ham.
Okay. All right. How many pieces did you eat?
2, I think.
All right. How about your favorite food we've had so far?
I think Majestic Pizza so far.
Really?
Yeah, it's good food.
Then after that, we drove a little ways and went to a submarine museum, which was really cool. We saw the sizes to like the smallest and the first submarine to like the biggest one that we have now, and it was really cool. We learned a lot of interesting history I didn't know.
Well, Connecticut was just a short little stop, but it was very neat to see the submarine tour, or the submarine museum. Very fascinating to learn about the submarines and the training that they do there. But I also really enjoyed the pizza at Mystic. That was very good. We had good donuts, as you may have already heard, but the pizza was especially good.
We also went to a submarine museum in Connecticut that also was very fascinating to learn some history about submarines and how they have been used in various wars.
New York was wonderful as well. We saw several things in New York. It was a lot of walking, but we got to enjoy macarons. We got to enjoy the M&M shop, lots of different flavors of M&Ms. Got to see Times Square, got to see the Empire State Building from the ground. We didn't go up in it. We saw the memorial of the World Trade Center. That was a very moving experience as well. And also enjoyed seeing the Statue of Liberty that I had never seen before. And to just be able to go up into that and realize how tall that thing really is. Tell us about the macarons you had in New York.
They were really good. There was a fudge one with like chocolate fudge in the middle. That one was pretty good, but not as good as I expected. There's a Boston cream one where it's like the top part was chocolate, the bottom part was vanilla, and the middle was some filling. But it was really good and better than expected. And then there's a cookies and cream one. That was like vanilla with like cookies and cream filling, and that was also really good.
Would you want to live in New York City?
I don't think so. I think it was fun to visit, but I don't think I really would want to live there. I think it'd be pressuring and kind of crowded.
I enjoyed being with the kids in New York City. It was a new experience for them to see some of that big city life with so much going on at once. We walked a long ways, but it was so, there was so much to see that time didn't seem to, the walk didn't feel as long as it was. So wouldn't want to live in the big city, but it was interesting to experience it with the family.
It was a lot of walking there, but the M&M factory was really cool.
What flavor M&Ms did you get?
Peanut M&Ms. But they were like all different colors and stuff. So we got like gray and like teal. It's cool.
Things you can't get in the normal store.
Yeah. Odd colors.
But on the way back, I enjoyed, we walked I think 9 miles through the city. I really enjoyed seeing how busy it was and how different it is from my life here, because I didn't know people lived like that until I actually was walking through it.
Did you learn anything about a family member on the trip?
Not of anybody specific, but I thought it was interesting, especially going through New York City, to see how different people handled the crowds. I know Papa did not like the crowds, and I think Samantha was enjoying them, and it was just funny to see how everyone else fit in between them.
Did you manage to find any donuts in New York City?
We did not stop at a donut shop, but we did shop at a macaron shop, and we tasted a few of the macarons. That was a nice step out of the rain for just a minute.
Towards the end of the trip, we went to New York City and we found a macaron place there. And the macarons they had that we got were really good.
I really enjoyed in Bar Harbor the West Side Grill. I tried a pasta dish that had lobster and shrimp in it. It was really excellent. That was my favorite.
I liked the salmon that I had and the lobster that I had. Those were all good.
Probably my favorite was in Bar Harbor. We did have separate hotel rooms, but they were very spacious. It was difficult in the middle of the night finding the proper location, but it was a nice experience with being able to catch the trolley right in that parking lot and take it into Bar Harbor so that we could roam around the city.
Okay, how about your favorite place to stay?
The house in Boston.
Okay, because you got your own room. It's the only place you got your own room, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
and my own bed.
I kind of think the last place we stayed at, because
The
we
one
had our
in-
own ensuite bathroom. Not,
Okay, so the place in Boston,
yeah,
because you had your own bathroom right off of the bedroom.
yeah,
Lots of space.
yeah.
So we stayed at a house in Boston. There were some things I didn't like about it. It felt like we were going to break everything, but it was very spacious. I got my own bedroom and my own bed in a barn, and they had like 3 grand pianos and a harpsichord and like all this fancy stuff. It was really fun.
Well, I liked Boston in the fact that we had 4.5 bathrooms, especially because the house we had before that in Portland only had 1, so it was nice to have multiple bathrooms so we weren't fighting over showers and getting in there. There was also lots of bedrooms, so everybody got their own space. It was a little fancy, kind of concerned about breaking things, but I liked the space we got.
Boston Probably in the huge house we stayed in. It's probably my favorite.
Well, my favorite was actually doing Fenway, now that I think about it. That was a real neat experience. Be up on the Green Monster and learn how much those seats cost. It was, and then going in the press box.
I would probably say the lobster tour. That was really fun.
I was glad even in Bar Harbor where we didn't really have a table, we made do on the beds, pushing the desk in so we could all still play games together.
What did you think about riding subways? You did that in Boston, New Jersey, New York, right? What would you say about riding the subway?
I thought it was a fun experience because I've never done it before, but for sure by the end, especially when we had to mask, and it was just super crowded, that wasn't my favorite, but I'm glad that I did it so I can say that I've done it.
Well, Portland was probably, I mean, not even for the house itself, but Portland is such a busy, compact city. The parking was an issue. Even trying to get out of the driveway, we had to have someone stand in the street in order to okay us backing out of that situation.
I believe that something that stands out in my mind is the busyness of old, large cities, partly due to the fact that they were built before vehicles were around, and so the streets are narrow and parking was never accounted for. So finding places to park and getting around these crowded cities was an experience. That's one that I'll remember.
Well, it was a challenge. Parking seems to be pretty non-existent in a lot of these towns. They have you get to all these tourist towns and then you have to spend hours searching for parking. When you do find parking, you pay a lot of money. We've had times where we paid $30 to sit there for a couple hours. So Bar Harbor did really good in having a bus that would take you around, something some of the other cities should invest in. But certainly there were times, for instance, when Mom, Dad, and I were doing a tour in Providence, we did this driving tour, but they don't tell you that there's no place to park on all these stops. So it will start to say, okay, get to here, and you get there and there's no place to park. So by the time you can park, you're way past the place. So we did a lot of circling around, trying to find parking to see what they were talking about. My favorite would be Maine. I stopped in Maine briefly one time, that's it. And we hit a lot of Maine. When we were driving to Bar Harbor, we went through a lot of little towns, so I got to see some of that. Stayed in Bar Harbor, and then we even did Portland and even Camden on the way. So I liked seeing all the different parts of Maine.
My favorite state was Maine, I think mainly because I hadn't been there before, and we went to Bar Harbor and Portland. They had beautiful scenery. That was my favorite state.
What's something you'll never forget from this trip?
Probably being in the press box looking down at Fenway Park.
How I kept trying to say to my grandma and my aunt, like, long time no see, although it hadn't been that long, just like a few minutes that they had gone away or something.
And that became a frequent phrase, trying to trip them up every time.
And how it was a race sometimes who could say it first.
I think there have been a lot of little funny moments. Definitely at one point we were just walking down the street talking and I walked right into a sign that I was staring straight at. But a lot of just little funny moments of silly things people have said.
Well, for food, probably Probably going back to Tasty Burgers. And location, probably the Computer Arcade Museum again.
I think I would go to Uncle Willie's Candy Shop again. There's so much unique stuff there that I feel like there's enough stuff that you could get unique stuff still. And
What was the best thing you didn't get? Or something you didn't get that you wanted to
I
get?
don't know. They have like the little candy things that you like squirt the sour stuff on that I like, but I'm not regretting my decision on what I
Okay.
got. I think I'd go back to the donut place in Connecticut where I got the strawberry shortcake donut. It was really good, and I tried some of the other flavors there, and they were also really good. There's a lot of variety and stuff. I mean, there's so much. I would probably say to do the Boston 4th of July thing. That was so cool. It was so fun. We got like the perfect spot. I would also say see Clark's Bears.
Times Square, because it's just like an experience to be in that really crowded area, and yeah, it was like with all those shops and stuff, it's really an experience.
If you could go back to one place from this trip, where would it be?
That's really tough, but one of my favorites would be the Arcade Museum. That would probably be one I'd want to see again. If you were to talk to a friend about going to the Northeast, what would you tell them that they absolutely need to do?
Maybe whale watching tour, but we didn't get to do that. That was
Gotcha.
a huge missed opportunity. But probably Fenway Park, because it wasn't very expensive and it was really cool.
We got flattened pennies, so it's where you pick a design and then you put a penny in there and then you turn the crank and then it flattens the penny to be like a football shape with that pattern that you picked out on it.
What was your favorite souvenir?
Well, I enjoy collecting magnets from the places that we visited, and so I was able to greatly enhance my magnet collection on this trip. And they're all together displayed as a reminder of all the places that we got to go. Do you have a favorite souvenir from this trip?
Well, yes, we didn't buy a lot of souvenirs, but we did get a really good deal on t-shirts and sweatshirts. So when we were in Bar Harbor, we found a deal of 10 shirts for $40. So $4 a shirt. So you're looking at one of them. Those are my favorites. Love these shirts, and we got a sweatshirt too.
Like playing games was really fun. And probably when we watched the Who's on First with everyone.
When we were in Portland, we decided to listen to the old Abbott and Costello Who's on First routine. We found a copy of that on YouTube TV, so we watched that as a family. It was just really neat to me to see 3 different generations of people laughing together and really enjoying that skit. In fact, it was so enjoyable that we ended up watching it a second time, and so that was just a neat moment as a family.
Papa used to skip rocks all the time.
Not of anybody specific, but I thought it was interesting, especially going through New York City, to see how different people handled the crowds. I know Papa did not like the crowds, and I think Samantha was enjoying them, and it was just funny to see how everyone else fit in between them.
Well, the whole journey with my family was tremendous. I enjoy so much spending time with my family. We played games. I really enjoyed that the girls all joined me on the Boston Tea Party experience. So it's just mainly, as a whole, the family time together.
I had lots of fun. It was great spending time with my family. for a while. It was really fun.
What are your favorite family moments or
Well, right now there's not one particular instance I can pin down, but it's a fact that we're all together. Even though I don't always say so, I'm real happy to be here with everybody. And it's good to see you all